Let's have a look at the perpetual bean oil market. Here we are on a monthly. First sort of thing I'd look at is there's some lows sort of around here. I'd chuck something through there somewhere. And guys, this doesn't have to be exactly accurate. What you're looking at is just basics. Just a few basic lines. I'm trying to get that level. You can see what I mean. Okay, I'm immediately thinking something like that, just roughly. I could easily, if I wanted to start playing around with things, look to sort of take that and move it down onto those points, anywhere around there. Okay, it's all pretty valid, but immediately what are we seeing? We're seeing there was a big rangy move here. This was the top of the move, so possibly if we extrapolate this across a little under 49, so that's 48.90, that's probably about 47, is looking as a possible something. And look at the dates down the bottom. Yeah, we've gone back to mid-70s to look at this. So this is just general, getting an idea of the sort of thing that's happening in the market. And I'd get rid of those, and I'd start looking from maybe around here, and I'll start considering whether we're making it all the way back to some lows or highs. I'd sort of take this point here, I'd run across there and say this market could have run out of power about here, but it kept on going up to here, which suggests that this market could have some strength in it. That's an initial tell. And then I'd come down to across here and I'd say, well, the market didn't have enough strength on the downside to make it back down to this line. We did neatly fill across here, nice and symmetrical, finish that off. But then again, you look at this next one, going from here across to here, we could only get to here. So I'm beginning to think, well, this market's looking like it's got a bit of promise. And this is what you've got to do before you get into anything fancy whatsoever. You start looking at how the market's behaving. And you can see that it then started to just power right on up into a runaway move. I'd then just look at this recent period and I'd say higher highs, donk, we're going higher, and off of the lows. I can run it like that, or I can run it across like that. It really, again, let me repeat, it doesn't matter. You're not looking at a precision piece of engineering drawing here. You're just getting a flavour for what's going on. So again, I'm thinking, well, okay, up. Looks like we're going up at the moment. I'd kill all of that. And I might just zoom in a bit, have another think about what I'm looking at there and say, yeah, it's fair enough. There's an uptrend at the moment. There is a definite uptrend that is pretty much as clear as day. That, is showing some general tendency. This market's pushing on up at the moment. And until that line is broken and I can start trying to be fancy and put something across here, let's say something like that, and if I just guess it, its brother would sort of be a bit like that. I don't think I've got that quite right, and you may well in fact come across from a point like that instead. But you've encapsulated trend okay there, and you can see the trend is up. So whilst there may be some resistance at the top of a channel each time, the emphasis should be on buying the bottom of the channel, not trying to be the hero selling stuff at the top, going against the trend. Go with the trend and buy. So okay, that's my monthly analysis done. Then I'd look at weekly. decide how much data I want in there. Thinking, okay, you can see the same sort of pattern. Yeah? And what catches my eye immediately is these bits since the low. Couldn't make it all the way back down. Next, then we went, well, okay, let me explain what I mean. I went low, then we went up to this high. And this low here couldn't make it back down to this bottom low, sign of strength. We then took out this high here, went past it, yeah, up to here. That's suggesting strength. We came back down, this low that we put in, again we couldn't make it down to this sort of level, again suggesting some strength. Now this here is an in-betweener, doesn't tell you much, and especially when it comes back here and doesn't go anywhere, you're starting to think, oh, we could be in a range. We've seen a high that couldn't take out the highs and a low that couldn't take out the lows. That is suggesting that you're going into a range for a while. But then this is the high that we're looking at, and if we bring this across, we just poke out the top of it. It's tantalizing, typical rangy stuff, and then again we can only come back this far. So again, the tendency is for a bit of strength, but it's rangy, and rangy markets cause a few problems to your account if you're not careful. So you then sort of run that across there. Let me see, I just need to move that up a bit. It's not quite straight, but you can see what we're looking at. Again, look at this downside, the underside. When a market is going up, you look at the underside, and it shows you the strength and general trend of the market, and that trend is up. You just can't doubt that. So everybody that's been selling into everything, they might have made some money. I don't know. Whoops, I didn't even mean to do that. Sorry. They may have made some money. It's possible for bulls to make money and bears to make money, but the general trend is the way to play it. So you should be looking for nice long trades. Now at the moment we're not doing any of that at the moment. All we're doing is reading the market. So again, on this time frame, we're now on a weekly. We're seeing that we've broken out of this range. We've gone to some new recent wee highs, and you see we saw some little highs here, and we saw this low. Yeah, okay, no damage there, and now we're on to a new high again here. So in terms of reading things, the emphasis is up. We're still making new highs. The lows are higher than the last ones. So even if we pulled back, and if we did, that would be great, and we came back into this sort of region, if we came back here, I'm looking for an entry around there. So I'm now thinking, okay, I've got a bit of a read on this market, and I'm going to raise that, get rid of all of that. You've done your job. That's the weekly. Then I'll have a quick look on the daily, see what I think. Well, looks pretty strong, doesn't it? That looks pretty strong to me, without moving anything around at all. You could clearly see the market's got some buyers underneath it here, and then when it comes off to the races, and we're coming up here, that is steep. That is steep. That's showing some strength. We're coming out the top of all of this sort of scenario here, as is very typical of a range. You'll poke your head out, all the breakout traders will get long, then it'll sink back. I think that the stats are something like 75% of breakout trades sort of break out and then sink all the way back, either to this line of support, or in this case much lower. We put in another higher low here, up we come. Now this is the sort of time, if I was ever going to do a breakout trade, I would do this second breakout but I'm still not mad about it, of the range. Never the first one. Occasionally I'll miss it, but more often than not I'll be okay. Now we've headed up to new highs. Okay, this market is now showing some strength. I'm now looking for an entry. I don't want to buy up here. It's dangerous. What I want is it to come back down here somewhere, and if we got down here, then I'd look to buy it before we hopefully took off like that. So that is what we're going to look at in these wee little assessment videos. It's just basic framing of what's happening in the market. We're not trying to spot exact trades. All we're doing is reading the situation, assessing the situation. Think of our piece of fruit, and are we seeing, well, what we're trying to see is it ripe, is it moldy, where are we going, where have we come from, and once you've got a handle on that, then and only then should you start looking towards spotting exact trades.